everybody, and welcome to another episode of Lost with Friends. As always, I'm your host, Paul Casey, and although it's a few episodes in, it's a bit of a first this time because we have our first returning guest, but it's not just one guest, it's two. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves, or reintroduce yourselves?
I'm Mike Gillman, back again.
I'm Meghan. I also showed up.
And we are so glad to have you guys back. Great conversations with the two of you previously. Hoping to, the bar's set pretty high. You guys set the bar high last time, so all three of us got to bring it this time. We already heard your, how you got into Lost and Lost 2014 thing, so I figure this time we could just kind of get right into the episode.
Yes, sounds good.
We will be discussing the episode The Moth. Now, before I get into my notes, do you guys have anything on this episode?
I wanted to remind our audience that I still don't like Charlie.
Okay. And this episode doesn't turn you around on that at all.
I mean, he's got a few redeeming qualities in the proverbial large truckload of not so redeeming qualities. So I will give him the benefit of the doubt for this episode.
I'm going to chime in here and say that I'm not quite sure that it's so much Charlie's redeeming qualities so much as Locke's great influence on people. So that's kind of where I stand.
Well, now,
with that.
We've heard a bit about Meghan's thoughts on Charlie. What are your thoughts on Charlie, Mike, overall as a character?
Overall, I would have to say that I'm not exactly a fan either.
Okay.
To be honest. Yeah.
Which is weird because, I mean, I would assume, or I would hope you guys heard Esteban's episode where he said his thought is anybody who really likes Charlie is somebody who's only ever watched the series through once.
Have to agree with Esteban.
Right.
See, now that's funny because, I've watched the show multiple times, and I actually, until this rewatch where I'm, really, really starting to notice, wow, Charlie's selfish. I never really had a problem with him because I do think that in episodes like this and later on, he does have a lot of redemption, and it is the journey of the character. But, I don't know. Obviously, I'm in the minority of the Lost with Friends cast so far.
Well, we need that, that split.
Exactly.
I appreciate the journey, but I still don't like him.
Okay. Okay, so my very first note is immediately jarred by the opening. Not disoriented, but something is amiss. This could be describing Charlie's current state. Because there is no previously on Lost or any kind of setup. It just immediately starts him playing the guitar, and he's, clearly going through withdrawals or something, and just there's something off when I rewatched it about the opening.
I always got the idea that it was such a divide from how they usually started the episodes that it gave me that split second of, am I watching Lost? Oh, yeah, this is Lost. Okay.
Right. I have Jack is looking at Kate's picture. He had his chance to know what she did and didn't take it. I think he's regretting that decision. He wonders why she won't come with him. Us. He didn't change the wording immediately like people would do in most TV shows, but it was still there.
That was kind of cute.
Yeah.
In a desperate kind of way.
I have they crashed 8 days ago. And that was one of the things I know because we all talked about that we got into the show late. And I remember reading something that the first 3 seasons or 4 seasons or whatever all took place within the first, I believe it's 180 days or something. And I'm thinking, how could they have done that? And of course, we find out later on. But especially watching the very first time I watched these through, thinking that by this episode they were already 8 days in, I'm like, wow, how long do some of these drag later on?
Right.
Kate has faith Saeed will find the source and they'll get rescued. Jack says he wishes he shared her faith. Yet another clue in the man of science, man of faith struggle in regards to Jack.
I think Saeed is the perfect counter for that because he's that analytical type. So it's it mirrors the beach versus cave idea.
You know, I never actually thought about it like that, like the fact that Saeed and Jack are kind of opposites in that way. Because, I mean, I always think of Sawyer and Jack or Locke and Jack, but we don't really get to see the Saeed and Jack thing too often.
Yeah, there were hints of it as it went on.
I have, and then Sawyer shows up with a sarcastic comment.
Yeah. Yeah, I do love those.
I have, how bad is Charlie that he lost Locke so quickly, or did Locke purposely confuse Charlie, knowing his current state of withdrawal, to ditch him just to use him as bait? Uncool. Because I don't know about you guys, but I always got the assumption, even after Locke, a few scenes when Locke says, like, oh, you make excellent bait, and Charlie's like, oh, happy I could oblige, I kind of always got the feeling that Charlie wasn't 100% in the know that he was going to be the bait.
No, I don't think he knew at all. I mean, in fact, for the most part, in the beginning, he just kind of ran around oblivious anyway, I feel. And just, I don't know. He just didn't seem too privy to much of anything, honestly. Other than trying to make female friends, it seemed. And trying to find, his drugs, of course. So, yeah, I don't think he was privy to that at all.
I think Locke appeared and reappeared very frequently, and it was kind of his MO by that point that we just assume he's out hunting boar. So he's probably ducking in and out of the shadows, waiting for his moment to make him bait.
But I mean, isn't it weird because, like, Locke says, oh, Charlie, let's go for a walk. And then all of a sudden, next thing we see Charlie, he's kind of wandering around. And so, like, to me, that lends sympathy to Charlie, especially if he didn't know that he was going to be used as bait, because that means that Locke purposely, as you said, ducked in and out of the shadows to use him as bait. That doesn't, I don't know, that just gives sympathy towards Charlie.
I can really identify with that, because if Mike and I were dumped on a deserted island and I had to stop my allergy pills, I'd be in the much same shape. A little disoriented, very itchy, not really paying attention to the boars.
Okay, I have Charlie's confession in the flashback. It's his nonchalant attitude that sells it for me. He clearly doesn't care that he did something wrong in the eyes of the church, but he was raised to think that it could be wrong. He's almost bragging to this priest. And the obligatory name drop of the band. He always wants someone to recognize him.
He does love attention, yes. And I do think it was a little TMI. He did give a lot of details. So, yeah, I kind of see that. I do think it was kind of a brag on his part.
Do you think it was kind of like younger sibling syndrome, where, like, you see over and over where he's trying to get the approval of his brother, or even just trying to be a partner in this band with his brother, and his brother just kind of slowly takes over? And I wonder if their childhood was kind of like that as well.
Thank you for explaining that, because as an only child, I have no idea what that is.
Well, as the younger sister, I kind of get the attention seeking that a younger child would need. Mike is an older brother.
Yeah,
so
maybe
I'm
on the benefiting end here. So, yeah.
Well, as an only child, I always want all the attention anyway. So, I mean, maybe I kind of get it, but not to the same extent.
So, listeners in the comments, please tell us, A, whether you're younger or older or only child, and then your thoughts, the deep dive on sibling placement.
Okay, so regarding his kind of bragging in the confessional and the fact that, like Mike said, it was a little bit of TMI, I'm not Catholic, and I don't mean to offend any Catholic listeners, or, perhaps I'm speaking on something that I'm not knowledgeable of, but as far as I know, part of confession is the supposed anonymity. So if he's dropping the name of his band, that kind of goes out the window and it is as if he really wants this priest to know, like, I did all this stuff. Isn't that cool, right?
Right. Yeah, I would agree. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah, the purpose of confession is kind of thrown out the window at that point. You're like, hey, my name is Charlie and I did this.
Yeah. I have Liam Neil Hopkins, an American doing a British accent. And in my opinion, it's a very good one too, because normally Americans are horrible at British accents.
Oh, I know I am. Absolutely.
I had no idea he was American, so I was purely convinced.
Yeah, no, you did a fantastic job.
Okay, my next note. Charlie, respecting the concept of church and being raised to want to believe what they teach, tells his brother not to put his feet on the pew. However, he has nothing to say about the fact that Liam's shirt says music slut on it.
Right.
I have, in case you didn't get it, Charlie is British. Let's have him say bloody a few more times.
I wonder if that was scripted or not.
I did say that, yeah, quite a few times.
Yeah.
I would too.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you have that accent, you want to show it off, and especially, one, you can get away with it on American TV because we don't necessarily think of it as much as a vulgarity.
Exactly.
Okay, I have once again calm and cool Locke in the face of someone else showing wild emotion. When, Charlie's like, give me my drugs! I need them!
Honestly, I think that could probably stem back to the first episode where he was marvelously cured and could walk again. Like, obviously he couldn't walk before and now he can, and so maybe he just thinks that he can handle anything.
Well, that was one of the things that I know Jake and I talked about, was how if you watch, like, even the Walkabout episode, he's so angry about, like, everything, even when he's at work and his boss is getting on his case, and he's just like, I could play a game on my lunch hour, Randy, and then when he's on the island, he's just like, everything's great, I can walk again, the island will take care of us, everything's cool.
Yeah, he's definitely attained enlightenment on this trip.
Yeah. I have, why 3 times does he says to Charlie, I'll let you ask for your drugs 3 times. I'm wondering if maybe the writers did that as a Holy Trinity type thing. Maybe I'm just looking too much into the religious aspect, but I'm wondering maybe why not 4 times, because it's one of the numbers.
Oh, that's a good point.
I have a theory. Because it's on Paul's supposition there with the religious aspect. I think that it kind of mirrored the "you will betray me 3 times." I don't know if your listeners had their Sunday school, but 3 is a hugely recurring number in the Bible. It's kind of like the number for the Bible with the parallel to the lost numbers. 3 is everything in the Bible. So I think they definitely did that on purpose with that in mind.
Okay. Okay, I have, it's all about choices, fate versus free will, yet another overarching theme in the entire show. Firework smugglers. I pointed it out in I think maybe 2 or 3 previous episodes. I know I pointed it out in the episode with Esteban, because we were talking about when Jack first happens upon the caves, he was asking me what the deal was with the dolls. And I said, well, if people are bringing things, I said, there's fireworks. And he's like, fireworks? Where'd you see that? And I'm like, no. In a few episodes, they talk about firework smuggling. So here it is, fireworks.
Just like Jack's dad, that could have been considered cargo. So it may not have been a passenger smuggling it. It could have been like fully paperworked cargo for a company or somebody that had ordered them from overseas.
Okay.
Bam, take that, Paul.
All right. See, Megan, this is why you need to be a recurring person on this show.
So I can knock down all of the assumptions.
Assumptions that I have, yes.
Well, and hate Charlie a little more.
Ouch.
and support Kate.
See, I have no problem with the supporting Kate thing. I'm kind of indifferent towards Kate, honestly, but I don't have the Kate hate, Okay, I have 2 notes about Saeed's triangulation. From what I understand, you really only need 2 antennae. If they overlap, it'd probably be in 2 places, and then you just need to look in both places. It's not like they don't have time to trek the jungle.
Right.
And point number 2 is the island is so massive, and he's assuming the signal will just happen to fall between where they all set up. When the battery life on the antennae is so short, why take such a risk for a relatively small area? I have Sawyer is reading Watership Down. The author of that book succumbed to the mass death of 2016.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite assigned reading books in high school. So that was just another point for Sawyer in my book.
I've actually never read it. I'm ashamed to say.
It's essentially about a bunny civilization. Which lends to my credibility, right?
I mean, Winnie the Pooh exists. There's that movie Rio. Why not bunnies? Why can't they have their own civilization?
That's a good point.
Okay, it's ironic that Kate thinks that she figured out Sawyer when she's actually characterizing herself. No one and nothing to go back to. He pulls the battery away just as she reaches for it. I don't know why that scene always sticks out to me. I'm wondering if that was kind of like to show her like, oh, you know what? You need this thing from me. So like kind of like a control thing. I don't know.
Right.
That was definitely like I've got the power here move.
Yeah, he was always making power plays. Absolutely.
Okay, my next note is Hurley once again with the sarcasm when Jack says, oh, come here, help me move this. And he's like, oh, could I? In the flashback where Liam and Charlie walk through the courtyard of the church, bit of a spoiler here, I won't necessarily say what, but this location is used at least 2 more times on the series. And if I'm not mistaken, Mike, you photographed there, yes?
Yes, I did.
All right, good story there.
So it was actually really fun to do that kind of thing, because once you arrive to that spot, you instantly know, oh, this was in this. Oh, this one was in this, and you have to get this certain angle to get it. And from listening to Mike's podcast, he had a different take on it, where he did more of a this is how it looks now, not exact science kind of thing. I took pictures where I'd wanted to line it up perfectly, and sometimes trees were in the way, but Mike definitely took the better stance on that one, in my opinion, because I was more often left disappointed.
I don't know. She took good shots, and really, it's not. For me, it wasn't about recreating the scene at the location so much as just getting an angle or a composition that I personally liked, and some of them happen to be the same. Same composition as maybe what the folks who filmed it did, and a lot of them weren't. But either way, yes, I mean it was fun. It was fun to get a look at these locations and just try to look at it differently from a composition standpoint.
This trip for me really illuminated how things are filmed. I had never gotten into film theory or practice at all before we went on this trip. So seeing locations like that where it was used for several different things over a couple of seasons, it really lifted the veil for me on how things work in film.
Now, Megan, when you were, because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I do tend to notice a lot of that stuff, like, oh, that was, that looks like the same set or whatever. I even notice on certain TV shows where the structure of something looks the same, like, oh, maybe there was an arch here. And then I notice, maybe a season or 2 later, they've obviously redesigned that set and the arch is still there and they just have to make it look slightly different. Did you guys realize when you were watching it, like, oh, that's the same place they used in the Moth when watching the later episodes? Yeah,
we recognized a lot of that. I mean, Yeah, I mean, of course, they use different angles, and again, back to composition, which can really change the look of a place, obviously. But yeah, for the most part, there were identifying things in the frame that we noticed that had been used elsewhere.
But with me rewatching after because we came back, and I think we immediately restarted watching the series when we came back from Hawaii.
Right. Yeah, we did.
So when we did that, it wasn't so much a feeling of, oh, we were there. It was, oh, I remembered this. And it's got a whole new, different memory to it. There's a certain set of banyan trees that has a sordid history in Lost. But when we were there, it changed it for me. So instead of thinking, oh, this bad thing happened at these trees, now I think, oh my gosh, I remember when we found these trees. So it's got a weird mixed feeling to it now that doesn't completely change the series for me, but definitely adds more depth.
Okay. See, I didn't go to as many places as you guys did. I pretty much went to the places that were on the tour. My next note, Liam hypes Charlie up, telling Charlie that Charlie is the band. This is, of course, a major juxtaposition to later when he claims that, quote, nobody even knows who the sodding bass player is, unquote. Sorry to any international fans for the use of that possibly vulgar word.
Do you think that was a manipulation tactic in the beginning?
I think, well, I mean, if we're going with what you had said earlier about the younger sibling thing, I think definitely, because he is Charlie is the younger sibling, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So then he would want to make his big brother happy, I would think.
I'll give you an example here from real life experience. One time my sister told me, oh, but you mop so much better than I do. And suddenly I was the one that mopped things.
I'm getting Tom Sawyer flashbacks.
Mike, did you ever tell your brother to do things like that?
You know, I look back and I think, and really, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Would your parents say differently, though?
I really don't think they would. Honestly, we never had an issue sharing chores or whatnot. I'm sure I've put many over on him. I'm just not quite sure in that way specifically.
What about, has he ever flipped the table on you?
You know, if he has, he did it very well.
Okay, I have Jin notices how much skin Sun is showing. She tells him it's too hot to cover up, and they kind of just stare at each other. She took a big step in the previous episode by admitting to someone that she spoke English. I have Hurley doesn't care about another of Charlie's stories about the band when he's trying to give his guitar back to him. Okay, this one. I'm ashamed to admit that it took me a few times watching it to finally catch the part where he says, I'm a bloody rock god, and then the rocky cave crashes in.
Oh, that's ironic.
You never noticed that before?
No, but I'm blonde and sometimes it takes me a minute.
Mike?
No, I didn't either, to be perfectly honest.
Some poetic justice right there.
Okay, I have, although I understand that Jack is important, shouldn't someone have asked if Charlie was okay in addition to just asking where Jack is? While walking through the jungle, Saeed and Kate have the discussion that I believe Mike, that we alluded to in a previous episode, Saeed talking about how it's practically a miracle they all survived with nothing more than a few scrapes.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Kate says luck and that some things just happen, yet another science versus faith. Little tease there, but I noticed it this time watching. I have the first Scott and Steve mix-up.
Yeah.
There was actually one of the guys that I met from New York. While we were in Hawaii, I seriously couldn't remember whether his name was Scott or Steve, and we were getting on the buses, and I said something, and I think I called him by the wrong name, and somebody else looks at me and goes, dude, that's Scott. Steve's dead. And I'm like, you got me. That was good.
Best reference ever.
Yeah.
You should have just done that on purpose, specifically to elicit that comment.
And, you know, I relate. I can relate to this situation. I'm horrible with names, great with faces, very visual. You know, if you introduce me to more than probably 2 or 3 people, 10 minutes later, I'll forget most of their names.
Oh, that Hawaii must have been a horrible experience for you then.
Was ridiculous, yes.
Okay, next note. I have Ian Smolderhalder, because of course that's what I call him, and the ladies on the internet call him. And I have Ian and Maggie, pretty people talking to pretty people.
They gotta stick together.
I have Boone trusts Shannon with this huge responsibility.
Yeah, and then she forgets.
Right.
She still carried through with it, so that's good. But it was a perfect moment of oh yeah.
And then Sawyer with his shirt off. I heard that noise.
if you could see her face right now. Yeah.
And then he has the nickname he uses, you know, her and Muhammad went out into the jungle.
Oh. See, that just ruins it.
But he's still
so
just turn the volume down at that point.
Yeah, I need like that, like a little alarm on my TV to, there's something dumb coming. Let's just turn down the volume and watch instead. But it was a character building moment, I guess.
Okay, I have Sawyer offers to tell Kate he likes her and wants to prove himself to her. He may not have anything to go back to, but he thinks he has something to stay here for.
Was he falling into old habits with that one?
Meaning?
I forget the context. Did he want something out of her?
Well, he went to, because he, that's when he says to Charlie, because then he insults Charlie with, why don't you just do whatever it is you do around here? Which, of course, that's all Charlie needed at that point was yet another insult. But no, that was, because she had said, you're selfish, you have nothing to go back to, and then she said earlier that she pities him. And so that kind of set off something.
Was that a reaction to... This was when he met Saeed and Kate in the woods, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he was going to tell her that Jack was trapped under a bunch of rocks.
Yes.
But then she said that he was selfish, or...
Yeah, like he walks up and she's just like, what do you want? And he's like, easy,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's kind of earned those responses, though. I'm not justifying this, but, he has earned those.
No, you are right. I mean, definitely by that point, he has kind of, like he said to Boone in a previous episode, about the fact that Boone is now at the top of everybody's most hated list. But pretty much at this point, Sawyer is still there for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that moment before she spoke was that one glimmer of him going to go help. Like, he was going to go tell them that Jack was under the rocks, and then she opened her mouth, and he's like, that's done. Right,
so, but she didn't know that he was actually going to do something for good, and then as soon as because she did kind of put him off, he's like, I'm going to do this great thing, maybe I'm turning over a new leaf, and then she's like, what do you want, pretty much, and then he's like, well, if you're going to treat me that way, I'm going to keep acting this way.
Yeah. No, I totally see his point of view there.
But like Mike said, she's not exactly wrong with treating him that way, because up until, it's a vicious cycle, but up until that point, he has acted that way. So he has almost elicited that response from her. Preemptive response, yes, but it is partly justified.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I think.
I agree.
Me too. I just see it from his perspective as well. Devil's advocate.
But he's got to know, given his reputation up to now, that he's going to be met with skepticism and smart remarks. I mean, if he really is trying to turn over a new leaf, he knows, or at least should know, that he's going to have to wade through some of that, you know.
Yeah, he should
to gain, you know.
Well, see, I think the fault comes like 1 second later, because instead of saying, hey, I'm here to tell you this, you know, instead of further going with the, all right, you know what, I'm gonna be the good guy, after one misstep he immediately turns back to, well, fine, then I'll be the jerk. And I think that's where the problem comes in, because had he said, hey, I just came to tell you this or whatever, one, he wouldn't have looked as tough, which I think is a big thing for him.
Right.
He, you know, would have shown a little bit of vulnerability, but he could have easily turned over that new leaf and shown like, hey, you know what, I'm trying here.
I think it's a lot easier for him in this situation to go with the flow instead of try to wade through the gauntlet of people's misgivings.
He created that, though, from the ground up.
He did. Know? I'm not saying that he did anything right. I'm just saying, like, it's rough to get back when everybody around you is looking at you like you're a big jerk.
But like I said, all he had to do was wait, you know what I mean, like 1 second longer and just been like, you know, because he, instead of taking a step forward, he decided to take a step. You know, he had taken the step forward of, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the good guy. And then he immediately stepped backwards when he was met with pre-resistance, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not saying it was a good choice.
But I will also point out what Mike said in the very first episode, which was, we are looking at these characters knowing all the information, and it's easy to judge them from our perspective.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to. Every time I rewatch Lost, I would just wish I could reset my head so I would be surprised, and like that first time, like the first time you watch Lost is just so amazing. And it doesn't degrade, but it's definitely different.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, before all that, however, I want to go back a little bit. We finally get to hear "You All Everybody," just that little bit.
One of my favorite things from Lost 2014 was hearing people scream that at each other.
Okay, I have, and we see it was Liam who first started with the drugs. That was pretty interesting. The fact that, you know, up until this point, it's been all about Charlie, 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 and then we see that it was actually the brother that started first.
That's so sad.
It is. It is. I'm not quite sure it's really surprising, though, you know.
Well, no.
Well, if we're going with the sibling, what did you call it before, Megan?
Sibling placement.
Okay. Yeah, if we're going with that, then it does make sense, because he would want to be like, hey, big brother, I'm as cool as you. I'll do heroin.
Right.
I feel, was it almost a spiteful move? Like, oh, I'll show him. I'm going to go on drugs too. Or is that...
See, I don't, because he's crying later when it happens. I don't necessarily think it was a spiteful thing, because he's like, he seems really torn up about it, that he doesn't really want to do it later on.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
I have, Michael has 8 years of construction experience, yet another use of the numbers.
I was so happy when Michael finally stepped up and had something to do other than yell or be worried about trying to find a way to get into Walt's hemisphere. Like, oh, he has other depth that we didn't know about. I was very happy to see that.
Well, it's funny because one of my notes is the fact that, like, by doing that, he kind of does get on Walt's radar. Because I have Michael is looking out for his son, but all Walt cares about is letting Mr. Locke know. Michael says they'll dig 4 at a time, yet another use of the numbers. But then Walt notices his father taking charge. He has a look in his eye that almost seems impressed. So I think that definitely lends... I mean, I think it would have been better if it had been like, oh, he is a character as opposed to just the guy who's looking out for his son. But I think that they did it pretty good there where, you know, he has that moment where, like, that's the thing that it takes for his kid to finally realize, like, oh, I could look up to this guy maybe too.
Well, yeah, it's the first time Michael isn't trying to bend over backwards to get Walt's attention. And he's, kind of seeing Locke as a role model. And Locke is that, he seems to be that strong alpha male type running off and hunting boars with knives. So maybe
400 knives.
400 knives. So maybe Walt's looking for, that male figure in his life, especially now that, his mom is gone. He needs somebody to look up to. So it's a good start.
Absolutely. Then I have, don't worry, Walt, someone will go and tell Locke. Well, tell him and try to get his drugs back. I have, that whole moth metaphor is so powerful. That's one of those moments, no matter what, it's kind of like the live together, die alone speech. No matter what I'm doing, I really try to pay attention when I'm watching Lost, as opposed to other shows where maybe I'm on my phone or whatever. But if I happen to be doing something else, there's a few moments where I just have to put everything down and watch, because the words are so powerful, or the performance is so powerful, or whatever. And that moth scene is one of them, where he's, I could let it, help it get out, whatever. And that just, it gets me every time.
Yeah, that is a great scene. And like you said, I mean, it's not only the dialogue, but, it's his facial expressions, movements. I mean, everything about that scene is very convincing.
And the whole metamorphosis parallel there with the moth and Charlie's journey in this episode is very powerful as well.
Absolutely. I have more like Terry O'Wyn. Okay, I have, once Jack has established that he's alive, albeit pinned, he says that Charlie was with him. Always the hero. I have Saeed is looking out for Kate, which I don't quite understand that scene. Maybe you guys can enlighten me, when he says about, the fact that she's there with Sawyer, when he sends Sawyer to climb the tree, and then Saeed's like, I don't trust him with you. I don't quite understand that. Am I just missing something very obvious, or is it like just maybe he just doesn't trust Sawyer and he's, looking out for her as a friend? I don't think it's necessarily a romantic thing, because she has enough potential suitors. But I don't know. There's just something about it where if he said I didn't trust him, that's one thing. But the fact that he says I don't trust him with you, that makes me think that I'm missing something.
Well, Sawyer has been very overt with his, advances. And not very, he's very public with, like, looking at her like she's a very large stake. So I could see where that would just be like public knowledge of, oh, let's not keep him alone with Kate. Maybe he was just being nice and chivalrous.
No, I mean, I get it. It was like, the big brother type thing. But I wasn't sure if that's how we were supposed to take it or what. I kind of never got that. Because especially, then again, because knowing what he knows about her, she doesn't even know how to work a gun. Right?
Right.
So, yeah, maybe that is what it was, and I just never thought about that.
Oh, if only he knew.
Right? Okay, I have Boone with the rude fat comment on Hurley. When they're talking about, somebody needs to go in and get Jack, and Hurley's like, in there? And Boone's like, I think he means somebody smaller.
Yeah, that was a little rough.
He got a double dose of that this episode, didn't he?
For some reason, like, he always gets it. But then again, he has one, like a moment later, when he says, once again, about the fact that Jin and Sun are Chinese.
Right. Yeah, I think Lost does very well with pointing out people's shortcomings when it comes to prejudice. A little too much with Sawyer and his overt racism, but I mean, if complete strangers are stranded on an island and there's a language barrier or a class barrier, I mean, that stuff's gonna happen.
Okay, so Hurley thinks they're Chinese, but Michael corrects him. He has knowledge the others don't, and he gives that not-so-subtle glance to Sun.
Yeah.
He's like the king of not subtle glances.
It's true.
Referencing that time he found her half naked in the woods.
Right. Well, I think
Yes,
at this
yes.
point they were still trying to set up the love triangle between them, right? Would you guys think that's the case?
It did appear that way, honestly. Yeah, I think so.
Charlie volunteers. I have a little surprised, because, to go in after Jack, I have a little surprised Boone didn't, since he always wants to be the hero. And then as I was typing that, I put, actually, this episode could have been Boone's entire struggle to accept his place, not as the leader, and I probably would have bought that too.
I could definitely see that as a side story on this one.
Yeah.
I have Charlie points out that the others all have someone they care for, except Scott, Steve, and the other nameless extras. Okay. Sawyer and Kate in the jungle. They're waiting. Sawyer says the line, kills me every time, makes me laugh, talking about the fact that Jack makes her, quote, weak in the loins, unquote.
It is a great line.
Best misuse of a cliche ever.
Okay, I have Sawyer talks about running the island. This shows the A-team leadership struggle that we've talked about in previous episodes. I actually have this whole conversation, his self-comparison to Jack furthers their dynamic throughout the series.
I wonder if the writers ever were tossing up the idea between, well, should we have him face off with Sawyer or should we have him face off with Saeed? Who should we make that alpha male struggle be with?
Realistically, if he had one with Locke and with Sawyer, I don't know why it had to be him. I kind of like the fact that they went with Sawyer and Saeed at various points,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that realistically, I think Jack could have handled one more person. He's the hero. Superman
No,
and Batman have countless villains.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, I have, Sawyer says if he had survived a few more weeks, and then Kate hears it. Did he slip up? Not likely. Sawyer is too meticulous. I think he let her know exactly when he wanted to let her know about what happened.
Yeah, I could see that.
He's one of my favorite characters without a doubt, but sometimes he can be cruel. He knew every moment of how that'd play out, and although he cares about Kate, in this moment, he wanted to hurt her. When Liam is leaving, Charlie is standing in front of the mirrors. If I remember correctly, the crew could be seen very obviously in the reflection, which is why they're blurred out on the right side.
Really?
I did not notice that.
We'll have to go back and
We'll have
watch
to
that.
check that out.
Yeah. Of course, Liam broke his promise, which, as Meghan pointed out earlier, might not have been a legitimate promise.
Stand
Yeah.
by my opinion.
No, yeah, I would have to agree. I really don't think, I think he told Charlie a lot of things, whether he was convinced of them or not, just to get Charlie to, do what he wanted him to do, honestly, because he knew Charlie looked up to him.
See, no, I didn't mean it as any disrespect of like, oh, Meghan's point, whatever. Like, I honestly never thought about it like that. So the fact that, it was pointed out, obviously I'm going to give credit to the person who changed my view. That's all I meant by that.
Oh, no.
I changed your view?
on
That's exciting.
on that particular thing. I still like Charlie. I mean, this whole this Lost with Friends series is bringing me down because like no one seems to like him so far, except me. But whatever.
That's
Well,
okay.
that's just, I will give him this. In a lot of cases, he's been a victim. Honestly. Um, so I'll give him that credit.
Okay.
I guess I will too.
No. Don't try to change your stance now.
No, I still hate his guts, but I mean,
Wow. Okay. I hate his guts.
no, I don't. I like I said last time, I was just a little disappointed because I really, really loved Lord of the Rings, and I thought he would have been a stronger character.
I have Charlie thinks he won't be of you because Liam says to him, like if you're not in this band, what use are you? And I have that he thinks that he won't be of use anywhere else, so he turns to the drugs and he appears to hate himself for it, which we briefly mentioned earlier. I'm not, like Megan, you thought like, oh, did he do it to show that he was cool like his, or maybe I said he was, to do it like he was cool like his brother or something, but I know we talked about that a little earlier.
I take that assumption back because people, when they are in depths like down that low, all you want to do is not feel anymore. So I could see why he turned to drugs.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially when they're put right in front of his face.
Yeah.
They're so it's an easily accessible solution. To maybe what he's feeling.
Yeah.
I agree to a certain extent, but I will point out Gene Simmons from Kiss. Doesn't, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't drink, doesn't do drugs, still has lived the quote unquote rock star lifestyle, but never turned to that kind of stuff.
But do we know his experience with pain?
And older brothers.
Yeah, he may be an only child. I'm Googling that right now.
No.
I know he's from Israel. That's all I really know.
Oh, okay.
That's news.
Okay, I have Charlie makes a Star Wars reference when he comes through the thing and he says, "I'm here to rescue you." That's one of the things that JJ and Damon kind of started to become friends over. Then, of course, they got Star Trek years later, and then JJ finally got Star Wars. But I just love the fact that they include little references to Star Wars.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There was several over the course. Yeah, I love that as well.
I just want to interject and say that Gene Simmons has 4 brothers and sisters.
Oh, so ha ha ha.
Sure.
I thought the audience should know.
Okay, my next note. Jack's teeth. This bugs me about film and TV. The concept, I can buy the concept of pretty people being the focal point of most movies and TV, but this happens all the time. He's covered in like dirt and all sorts of other stuff, and then his teeth are like pure white. I don't know if you guys noticed that when you watch. That bugs me so much. And it's not just this show, it's other shows too. Like the characters, like I get whatever, they look nice and, pretty people and whatever. But when they're supposed to look that like dirty, but then their teeth are like demon white, that bugs me.
I've never seen that crayon in the box. Demon white. Wow.
Okay, I have Kate takes charge, emotionally charged and taking charge. When she decides that she's going to be the one to dig out Jack. Not Charlie, but just Jack.
Right.
The pop of Jack's shoulder freaks me out every time. I've never broken a bone nor dislocated anything, so like hearing stuff like that weirds me out so much.
That was pretty brutal.
It was the most gross thing ever. Well, not ever, but it was definitely... Every time I still make that gag sound. I can't handle it.
Charlie in Australia, and we see Liam with his hipster glasses.
He's changed.
Well, that's I see that all the time on TV and stuff when they have to do a flashback and all they have to do is part the character's hair on the other side or give them glasses and all of a sudden it's a flashback or a flash forward just so you know that it's not now.
Yeah, exactly.
I have what would be the genre of the band Meat Coat?
Ooh. Um, maybe some kind of psychedelic punk rock. I don't know. Sounds like a band I may listen to. I'm not sure.
I mean, to me, it sounds like it would be like death metal, but I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they're like an ironic indie band.
Well, I would think it would have to be something that you could pair with Drive Shaft, right? So
We a psychedelic death metal band with punk overtones.
that's what happens when you and I start a band.
Exactly. Let's get on that.
Okay, I have. They won't book Drive Shaft without Liam. This has to kill Charlie because finally it's cemented that Liam is Drive Shaft. Kate won't listen to Michael because he's not on the A team.
Kate doesn't listen to a lot of people, I think. I don't know. She's very stubborn in that way.
I don't disagree. Maybe that's, one of the reasons people don't like her.
True.
I could insert a comment about strong ass women. That's all.
Okay. I have Charlie rescues himself and Jack, which is a huge moment for him, which again, I kind of think this should have been a Boone type episode because that would have been the ultimate like ah ha ha moment, Boone finally being the hero, but what do I know? I'm not a big Hollywood writer.
Boone had his own, well, not his own company, but Boone ran a company. He had enough of that on the mainland.
Yeah, so it always kind of made me wonder what's he trying to prove here,
I think there's an episode where we could definitely do a deep dive on that one.
Okay, I have Kate gives Jack a hug and then they exchange awkward glances. They're all congratulating Charlie. He wasn't selfish, and it finally paid off with some praise. Ironic. Now, this is a part that, I have a whole thing, which I would have to talk about in another episode, but the whole, all of them in the jungle, well, Saeed in the jungle, and Sawyer and Shannon on the beach with the bottle rockets. I have Saeed in the jungle waiting to launch his rocket. They all launch, and then he's knocked out. This is one of those moments where I was glad that I was binge watching.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad I got to binge watch it. Like, that, I could not have handled that weight for any, and so many episodes did that.
Well, I believe Mike will agree with me. Even seasons 5 and 6, waiting week to week was horrible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree.
No, I remember when I lived with my roommate, she would watch Lost, and I had no idea or what. I had no interest at the time, which I regret. I'm so sorry. But as soon as whatever time it was, at 9:00 when it ended, but whenever that time approached, I would always hear "ah!" Just as a response to the episode ending. It was definitely a high percentage of the episodes where she would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I have Walt wants to move in. Michael sees who his new neighbors are, aka Son, and he is okay with that. Kate points out the irony of Jack's safe caves rhetoric, which I think was kind of the whole point of the episode.
Yeah. There is no safety on the island.
Charlie demands his drugs from Locke. All right, here Here it is. I am not a fan of Lord of the Rings by any stretch. However, as he is watching his drugs after he tosses them in the fire, I get a slight Gollum, my precious vibe from his stare.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. That's perfect. I never thought of that.
Every time. And like I said, I'm not a fan, but that's what I think of. And I thought that you two would appreciate that.
I do.
Absolutely.
And then I have my very last note. He sees the symbolic moth once more to close out the episode.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking before we got on mic a little about there's been some rumblings, which isn't necessarily anything new, but there's been rumblings yet again that they might continue Lost or reboot Lost or spin it off or whatever. And of course, trying to avoid the ultimate spoilers, what do you two think of that concept?
From what I've read, like I said earlier, it's very polarizing opinion on that. Obviously, if they do this, they're going to have to do it very carefully. I still don't think a lot of the fan base wants it. But of course, like I said, there's still a lot of fans who want more Lost. So I don't know. I guess for me, it's kind of a toss-up. I'd have to hear the concept first.
It's kind of like with the Gilmore Girls. I was really, really skeptical, and I was trying not to get too excited. I feel like I would be the same way with Lost. And I think the fan base is kind of similar, not so much in demographic, but in general excitement for Lost. So, I don't know. I think it would have to be a continuation of the timeline in order to make me happy. I think a reboot, like in the narrowest sense of the word reboot, to redo it, I would be so angry. I would be very angry.
I don't think enough time has passed for a reboot.
Yeah.
One of my favorite shows is the rebooted or reimagined Battlestar Galactica, and that was like 30 years after the original.
Yeah.
And they did a different. It was similar enough that if you were a fan of the old one, you could watch it, but it was also different enough that if you didn't like the original, you could still watch it, or if you were somebody new, you could watch it and pick it up pretty quickly. I think if they went that route, like years from now, it wouldn't be too bad. I also am of the opinion, much like with the Gilmore Girls, if Damon and Carlton did it, I would be a lot more okay than if Disney or ABC just hired somebody completely new to come and take over.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
No, we would need our guys back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and honestly, Hawaii 5-0 is good too. It's a reboot.
Oh, absolutely.
But again,
There's
the
a
time
lot of time
passed.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I know, just in terms of rebooting things when they're not even old. I don't know if you guys ever watched One Tree Hill. I loved that show, but they're talking about possibly rebooting that, and it just ended 2012, 2013. So around the same time, you know what I mean? Not long after Lost, that ended, and they're like, let's reboot it already. And I'm like, why? It makes no sense.
Yeah, I agree.
I wouldn't mind certain questions if they were to answer them in spin-off material. If they were to I always thought that they should do a comic book. There's a particular character that we never really got their backstory, and I always thought they should have done a comic book, especially because Damon Lindelof has experience writing comic books.
Right.
I always thought that there maybe, and now especially since Disney also owns Marvel, they could easily print up or, make an e-version of a comic book. but I always thought they should have done that or some type of other, licensed, official Damon and Carlton approved spin-off or, some sort of tie-in material or something for certain unanswered questions.
Yeah, I can see that.
I always thought, because I want to be a big Hollywood writer one day, I always thought that if they were to ever reboot Lost, that I wouldn't trust it with anybody but myself. So that's the only person who I think could write a reboot would be me.
Yeah, there you go.
With
And
Mike
please,
filming it, of course.
Yes, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please find a way to employ
Fantastic.
us.
Let's do this.
I think that's gonna cover everything for this episode of Lost with Friends. Once again, where can they reach you guys?
You guys can find my blog at adventuresinverdance.com.
And I'm at michaelgillman.photography. Same with Instagram. And I'm on Facebook as well. Michael Gillman Photography.
Check them out. They do amazing stuff, guys. Two of my favorite people in the world. Thank you once again for being on the show. Thank you for being the first returning guests.
Yay!
Yeah, glad to be here.
And I think that's going to do it.
Okay. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you. Namaste
Yes.
and good luck. Wow, that episode was sizzling, wasn't it? For more content like this, how about you subscribe to the channel down below? While you're there, how about you like this particular episode and share it with your friends?